Romeo, north from Thibodeau, a young Cajun gal felt the sting.
Damn it, it's gonna get me already. About Dad, of course, most of us called him Bear, which is a name my wife actually came up with for him. So for those of you who remember, my mom also, who we called Nomi, we had to create that because she was jealous that Bear had a nickname and she didn't, so we had to create that. But one thing I wanted to share is Dad's last words, because they were really perfect for him. And as most of you know, he loved language. Any of you who speak any language, he probably pestered you to speak it with him. He spoke, I think, 7 languages fluently. Spanish was the one he spoke the most. That was the, Russian was the first one he spoke before English, and then Spanish, which he pestered me to learn, which I hated. I didn't want to learn it, which is a second story I'll tell after the first one, because he haunted me already. But he always spoke to our crews in Spanish. He spoke to everyone he could in Spanish. So Davey and I, his brother, were there with him, and we were trying to move him out of the hospital into a full care facility, which he didn't want to do. But we found a place that was in a home, so it wasn't a commercial complex. And Davey and I had gone, we got a bunch of his things, and we decorated it with pictures of the Simon family and pictures of all of you and things from his room. And we were showing him the pictures, but as we were decorating it, the 3 women who worked there were all from Mexico. And they all spoke fluent Spanish, and we told, Davey and I told him, oh, my dad will love talking to you guys. Oh, we can't wait to meet him. So the morning that Dad passed away, he could only say about 2 words at a time. He was really short-term memory loss. Of course, he was a quadriplegic at that point because of his broken neck. But he could smile, and we were showing him pictures of the room we had set up. This is where we're going to move you to, Dad. And we told him about the women and said, they all speak Spanish. And he looked at the pictures and he saw everything and he was smiling. And his last words were, muy bien. And then he closed his eyes. And that was it. He went into a coma and passed away at 420. So it's kind of apropos that today on 420, we're actually celebrating his life. But the haunting, so I have his truck. I drove it back. I'm giving it to his brother Davey. Sorry.
I wasn't good enough to.
So, Dad and I, when we worked in construction together, he would always turn on this Mexican music that I hated, and I would always tell him to turn that crap off. And I would turn on hard rock, and he would tell me to turn my crap off. So it was always a battle on who had control over the radio on the job sites. So I'm driving out of Houston in his truck, and I have a rock station on. All of a sudden, the radio stops. It just goes dead, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And a Mexican or a Spanish learning tape turns on, and there's nothing in the tape recorder. I could not figure out how to turn it off. And he just starts teaching me conversational Spanish on the drive back. So he had the last laugh.
He got even with you.
Yeah, he did. So anyway, I wanted to share those with you. If anyone else has a story.
Do you know Spanish?
Hell no. I never did. I took 2 years of French and don't remember that either. So.
Gotta use it or you lose it.
Yeah.
What was the 7 languages? Do you know?
Russian, English, Spanish, Romanian, Italian.
A little German, maybe.
Yeah, German, and.
I believe he practiced Portuguese.
Oh, and Portuguese. You're right. You learned Portuguese too.
That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he went.
He really
Every once in a
loved
while, he'd go to
languages.
Northwest Houston Community College, and he would take some classes there. But a lot of it, like Romanian. One of his assistants was Romanian, and he loved her family, and he went to visit a number of times and would stay with her father over there, and her father came to the U.S. for a while and lived with Dad. So Romanian became his place that he would go to as he got older. So, Jen, you have a story about Dad you want to say?
Oh, goodness. First, I have a question for you, though. When you say his truck, are you talking about the old one that he had, like, ever since the 80s? The one that you repainted and redid for him? Not that one?
No, it wasn't that.
Okay.
Really. No, it's the Cadillac Escalade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So his current one. Okay.
Yeah.
When you said his truck, that was the truck that popped into my head. I mean, I remember that one from when I was little, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
when
We
you
have lots
repainted
of
it and
stories about
redid
that
it
truck,
for
yeah.
him and everything. Gosh, you know, as you know, your mom and dad meant the world to me.
Yeah.
They were the parents I wished I had. And I was so fortunate to grow up in Houston for the time that I did and have them as a constant in my life and constant role models. And, you know, Uncle Ted, I called him Uncle Ted. He taught me so much. I mean, little things that, like using a block of wood and plaster to put texture on a ceiling, how to hammer a nail properly and not damage the railroad thing he had on in the game room, you know,
Yeah.
the pull-out railroad thing. You know, and there are just not enough good words that I have for him. I get choked up. I'm not good with words. I'm much better at thoughts in my head than I am articulating out loud. But I'll miss him.
Yeah.
Very, very
Mark, I
much.
have something I would
Please.
like to, I wrote this, I don't know whether I'll get through it or not, but you can help me. Okay, Theodore Andrew Simon, our 16 years. When you met Ted, you quickly learned that he was raised on a farm in Pennsylvania with his brothers Davy and Greg and his sister Barbara, that he was a graduate of Penn State. Ted's nickname was Bear, Oso con Oso. He could be a teddy bear and he could be a grizzly bear. Ted loved to eat. He loved food. Ted could build or fix pretty much everything or anything, and he enjoyed the process. Ted loved to drive his truck. As he would say, I get my greatest enjoys. Ted loved to dance and did an amazing job at West Coast swing and salsa. Ted loved music and could play pretty much any instrument. Ted especially loved the piano and accordion. He often played them for Alexandra, Amanda, Austin, Cameron, Paisley, and Cole. They occasionally would even get a little lesson. Ted loved languages and spoke Spanish, Romanian, and Russian. He spoke the English language perfectly till his dying day. Ted loved his amazing grandsons, Reese and Luke, and his son Mark and wife Jeannie. He spoke of them often. Ted liked to travel and learn about people and their cultures. Ted had a constant companion. Her name is Abby Lily Petals, a 13-pound white Pekingese. Abby was always at Ted's side in the office or begging for a snack at dinner. Abby is not known to be friendly to anyone but Ted or the grandchildren. So what will I miss about Ted? The everyday challenges we shared. Good ones, bad ones, easy ones, hard ones. Ted always gave you just enough information to make you figure things out for yourself. Ted, I know you're standing tall, chewing on a flat toothpick and saying, "Que pasa?" Ted, you were special to Sarah, Tim, Lisa, and Jeff. You are part of our family. Ted, I love you. I will miss you.
Thank you.
And there's a box of toothpicks here.
I will chew on one in his honor.
A new or used?
Either one. His truck, it took me half a day to get rid of all the toothpicks
Yeah.
that were stuck all over.
Really?
Oh, crazy.
That's hilarious.
Greg, you want to say a little
Yeah.
something about your older bro?
Yeah. Oh, it was easy a minute ago. Well, Ted's 18 years older than me, so he was kind of like a father figure. You know, he still remember, you know, the last moment I remember him leaving the farm was when he had a 58 Ford, I guess it was a Fairlane, packed up the car, ready to leave, and I was about this tall, and he's heading off to New Orleans. So, but all through my life, I mean, since he was like a father figure, I always said, oh man, it'd be great to go into business with him, but he lived down here, I lived up there, I wasn't gonna move. So we, it was, the closest I got to really working with him is one part of a summer out in Denver. And I guess you were probably that tall. And I worked there, you know, on some of his construction projects. And you talk about radios, he hid the radio and everything up the chimney every night,
Yep.
you know, so people wouldn't steal things. Also, I can't forget the story with you and I. We're shooting water guns at each other. And you go inside the house, you hide behind the screen. And you say, you're not going to shoot in here. My mom will get mad at you. I said, want to make a bet? So I did. Well, guess what? She got mad at me. But there's some interesting things to remember about him. He also, I don't know if in the 90s or 80s, he took my mom to Russia. And his, I mean, every disaster is a challenge or excitement to him. So he's over there, and I forget what, he thought maybe it was a heart attack or some chest problems and all that. So he's in the hospital. He said, it's the greatest experience. I learned to talk to the Russian doctors and all this other stuff. And,
he loved that.
Oh yeah, and I think he also, he took these walks on the street and he got lost. It's like he couldn't find his way back. And then the bus took off without him at one of the stops. And I don't know how he ever got caught up, but he said, well, just another thing. And fortunately, he knew enough, like he said, that Russian and other languages. He's made his way through there.
And for him, it was never a problem. It was always an adventure.
Oh, yeah. It was.
Everything.
Yeah. And even on the one picture here with the tractor, it's like the red Farmer Cub tractor, still have it. And he, it was kind of like everyone's favorite.
Yep.
And still, I kind of remember when that picture was taken also. And I guess the other thing, I know, talk about Davy and Ted spent a lot of time together, the last month or so.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing, I'm having a hard time. This isn't the last time we get to see him. No. And I guess my brother Dave talked to him a lot. And there's a plan that God has for us. And I know the last moment, actually 4 days before, I guess Ted learned what the plan of salvation was. And he accepted God in his heart. I think that's kind of the most exciting thing to me. Spend 40 years praying about it. So I can't go into any more. I know my brother, talked about it. He wrote up something, and I just he said, people are interested. Here's my outline or my notes of, what I discussed with Ted and, his last days there. So I do have a pocket full of them. If you're interested, you're welcome to have them. And I guess that's probably more than his passing is my, greatest joy.
Thanks, Greg.
If you would.
Jeannie.
Okay. So as Mark said, we called Norma Nomi.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first met them, remember that was at the airport. It was at a layover.
Oh, that's
in
right.
Houston. And I'll tell you, from the moment I met them, I felt like I was their daughter. They accepted me and loved me right off the bat. No questions asked.
In case you guys ever wondered if anyone could displace me, instantly she became the favorite.
Yeah, his mother threatened him.
She did.
And when we got married, Ted would call me Dill, or daughter-in-law. So that was my name from Ted. So I have some stories about Ted's babysitting skills. Because when the guys were young, now I'm talking pretty young, like for one of the trips, I think they were only like 2. So they were still in diapers, and we had to go to a conference somewhere. So Bear came in, stayed with the guys a couple days, and we lived on a pretty small circle. So he took them for a walk on the circle, and a friend of ours was out, this is Hope, was out gardening or whatever, and looks up and sees, and she knows Bear, she sees Bear with the kids. And they're just in diapers. They have no other clothes on. They don't have shoes on. And one of them, I don't know which one.
Luke.
The diaper, the diaper is so full. He's literally dragging it on the sidewalk. And Hope's like, Bear, you need to get changed something right away. But that was kind of Ted, you know? I mean, he was a little absent-minded sometimes. Brilliant engineer, but like that day-to-day stuff, not so much. But then...
Bath? You got to tell the bath story, the boys.
What's that?
Where they wouldn't get dressed.
Oh, that, okay, yeah. So another time, they're a little bit older now, out of diapers, but they're in daycare. They're not quite in, elementary school yet. So he has to get them there by 9 or whatever it was. And the kids were of that age. All of you have children know, at a certain age, kids don't want to wear clothes, okay? They want to be naked. So they were at that stage. So Bear is trying to get clothes on them, and they are literally running away from him. And there's two. He cannot catch them. He cannot. So he's like, what am I going to do? So he turned down the air conditioner to 55. He froze those kids out. And they came to Bear shivering. They're like, okay, Bear, we'll put clothes on. But that was one of his proudest moments.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so Bear was, as you know, he was funny, he was creative, and he loved his time with our kids. And when they were young in particular, he did spend quite a bit of time with them.
You did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, John, it's perfect for you to say something because John was closest, probably of all of you, was probably closest to Dad. And I don't know if you knew that he had a nickname for you.
I did not.
The shit disturber.
Yep. Yeah. I always tried to keep things interesting in our family. So yeah, usually I was stirring things up. Just a few quick words. Let me just preface this. Doris and I are going to have to leave, as soon as I finish here. She has a sister getting married in Baton Rouge at 5 o'clock, today. So we are on a really tight.
Thank you for showing.
Schedule. Well, we wouldn't have missed this, but yeah, Ted was very close to our family. I'm the oldest living child, from our family. The oldest child was a Down syndrome child. We called her Sissy, and it's already been said that Ted loved to play music, and so every time that he was at our house, he would come in. He was always so jovial and friendly, and he always played music. He would find something, to play. And Sissy just loved him, and she had a way of knowing the true heart of people, and I thought that was a very telling thing, that Sissy loved Ted, as much as she did. And we all loved him. We all miss him. The thing that I remember most about him is that it's already been said too. Nothing ever seemed to get him down. He was always positive, and no matter what life dealt him, he was willing to take it on and keep going forward.
Yep.
And I think that's a great trait for all of us, and to try and follow. But certainly, he was a big part of our family. My mom and dad loved him, as they did your mom, and we were always, happy to see them visit. So the memories are very good, and we know that Ted is in a better place now, and so we'll all miss him, and I know that the memories will stay strong with us. So thank you.
You actually have a little caterpillar.
Oh, really?
Got it.
Thank you.
Joe.
Please don't think that we're rude, but we do have to.
No, we get it. So
Well, I just want to tell my bye-byes. So sorry. Ted was kind of a shit stirrer.
Yeah,
Because I remember one time y'all were coming to visit from Houston, and we lived on a busy street, West St. Mary, and they dropped you off a few blocks away. And they arrived, and then the first thing she asked was, "Where's Mark?" And they played on for about 30 minutes, and you had convinced him to stay with some friends. And she was so mad, and Norma was so mad. And then finally you came, and she said, "Shit, Dad!" She didn't blame Aunt Norma. She didn't blame Norma Rita. She blamed your dad. But I remember they were so upset, and we were upset too, because we thought, Mark usually came and he would come and play with us and stay for a while. But that was so funny. And then I remember Sissy's birthday parties. They always came, and we were so excited when they'd come. And he would always walk in with a big watermelon. They always brought a big watermelon for the crowd, and your mom would always make lasagna and stuff. So those were fun. I remember those days. Even though Ted and Rita were a lot older than me, we loved their visits and your visits, and they'd always come around Sissy's birthday party. So, and like I said, even he would still visit. He'd come from Houston to Orlando and stop and see us, and it was good to, and he never looked like he ever aged. In fact, I was saying, I don't remember him with dark hair. I always remember him with white hair, but he looked young. He had, beautiful white hair, but looked young, and it looked like he never got older. And always, the last time we saw him was a couple of years before Mom died, and, still so happy. And I mean, he was in his 80s, and we were like, he doesn't look 80.
Yeah.
So,
I think he turned gray at 35.
Yeah.
That worked.
Very early. Yeah.
But he had the heart of a much younger person, and he just, we always remember him laughing and always happy, and never seemed like he had a care in the world. But I'm sure he did. Business owner, and father and grandfather. I mean, husband. You have worries, but he just seemed to mask all of that. So
He didn't look at it that way. It was just a challenge, and it was life. And he
had
just
a
move
good
on to the next
positive.
thing.
Yeah, I guess that's why he got along so well with my mom and dad, because they always taught us that too.
Yeah.
They always had a good, positive attitude. So
And the food.
yeah.
We all love coming for the food.
So anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Oh, thank you. So, and I know, yeah,
So, can I speak to my mom had
Please.
something. Okay.
please.
Okay. So I'm Tom Levin. My mother is Barbara Levin, often known as Bobby, and Barbara, was Ted's younger sister. They're only 2 years apart. So unfortunately, she's not here. She's in Florida. She's 86 and unable to travel. She's very sad, and she couldn't. But she had written something, and I will read it. They're her fond memories of Ted, her brother Ted. So this is her saying this. Okay. So dear friends, so many experiences pop up as I think of my brother Ted and our times together over the years. Grown up in Northmont, a suburb of northeast Reading, Pennsylvania, where we both went to grade school. It was a small school where I had 6 pupils in my class and 2 grades for each teacher. We always spent weekends at the farm in Douglasville, which became a major part of our life. My 3 brothers and I all took piano lessons. Ted never seemed to practice, but all of a sudden, about the age of 14, he started to play by ear. He never could read music, but had a gift for music. Almost every instrument he picked up, he could play. You could just hum a tune and he would take over. At 15 years of age, he started his own band called the Stardust Trio. Ted played the accordion, and he had a bass player and a guitar player. Ted played all 3 of those instruments as well. The trio played a number of places in our hometown area. Ted also had an excellent voice and would sing for everyone. We had also a lot of picnics on the farm for the churches, and the trio would entertain. Ted, of all 4 of the family, graduated from Penn State. We all followed our dad, Andy, who was a graduate from Penn State University. Ted and I were at Penn State together for 2 of his 6 years. So Ted was there 6 years. We were very close and did a lot of things together, as he was an ATO and I was a KD. Ted always dressed well and brought on his shirts over for me to wash and iron. I guess we just helped each other out in those days and never thought of refusing. So Ted was very popular in the fraternity, on the weekend parties, and with his talent on the piano. We happened to be on the same history class in 2 semesters, and Ted didn't always go to class, being it was an 8 a.m. class. So I guess who gave him copies of the notes for studying for the exams. So a few later, we both graduated from college. Ted had a job at Shell Oil at New Orleans and married Norma. I met Roger Levin, my father, at Penn State University and married a few years later. I remember the time Roger and I visited them for Mardi Gras celebration. Ted had a friend who lived in Bourbon Street and had a second floor balcony view of the parade. What a treat. I still have some parade throws I caught that day. A few years later, Roger and I were transferred to Key West by the Navy. My parents came down for the winter and rented across the street from us. At that time, Ted and Norma had a baby named Mark, 11 months old, and Roger and I had a 5-month-old Mary Beth. We invited Ted and Norma to join us on a cruise to the Bahamas for 4 days. My parents offered to take the two grandchildren when we cruised. What a great time we had. Another wonderful trip we had together was a 3-week trip in Europe when we traveled through Portugal and Spain. This is the first time Ted and Norma were in Europe. What a wonderful trip we had. Roger did all the driving since Ted was not a superb driver in unknown territory. So you probably have it. So Ted, we're gonna miss you, but we'll meet again in heaven. You made the right decision for Christ. Love you, Bobby.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. Thanks for reading. All right. Thank you all for showing up, for being here. You know, we don't have to run out, but I figured Dad's favorite food in the world was Cajun food. I mean, he loved you guys, but food, you know. So the Préjean's right up the street, about 5 miles from here. I sent the address to those of you who aren't local. Be happy to meet and keep telling stories. I'll pick up appetizers for everyone, so we'll just hang out for a while. And thank you.
Back in the bayou north from Thibodeau, a young Cajun gal felt the sting to be alone. Had a daddy get lost while paddling his pirogue back from seeing his babe after leaving his home. People say that her daddy was quite a fisherman. He went to the swamp every day to be alone. There he met Widow Pito, living in Paradis, a small Cajun town close to Lake des Allemands. Venez danser chérie avec moi, Mama Pito. Venez danser chérie, au fait dodo avec moi. Venez danser chérie avec moi, Mama Pito. J'aimerais danser toute la nuit, Mama Pito, avec toi. Was a Cajun, lived in a trailer, had a record of trouble in every parish town. Got to know Widow Pito, met her while serving in a jail run by Pito, who shoved him around. Moot had a CB, rigged him a system, watched the widow from spots near the cypress at the blind, set his CB on 7-10-5 to her bikini, bathe and watch any fella who gave her some time. Had a small CB in the back of his pirogue, had a 9-foot whip sporting leader and line, tuned a channel 9er should he get into trouble, but tonight he's got Mama Pito on his mind. It was fog, mist, and rainy when Pito left for Paradis. His battery was low, and so was Channel 9. And a voice from across the channel marker was a callin', Daddy, run, 'cause I listened into 7 just in time. Channel 7 said her daddy was a-leavin' from the cabin, from the shack where the widow had entertained so well. Channel 9 gave a sound of Daddy, a cryin' Cajun gal, and when dead found him later beat to hell. Venez danser chérie avec moi, Mama Pito. Venez danser chérie, au fait dodo avec moi. Venez danser chérie avec moi, Mama Pito. J'aimerais danser toute la nuit, Mama Pito, avec toi. Have gone since losing her daddy Cajun gal left the swamp, moved to Houston with her son. But before moving on, she swore she would get even, she would get Moot to answer for what he had done. Even now, Cajuns say that Moot hears daddy callin' breaker 9. Moot's behind, get some help, he's got a gun. But now Moot has been taken to live up at Mandeville, his mind in the web that our Cajun had spun. Venez danser chérie avec moi, Mama Pido. Venez danser chérie, au fait dodo avec moi. Venez danser chérie avec moi, Mama Pido. J'aimerais danser toute la nuit, Mama Pido avec toi. Venez danser chérie avec moi, Mama Pido. Venez danser chérie, au fait dodo avec moi. Venez danser chérie avec moi, Mama Pido. J'aimerais danser toute la nuit, Mama Pido avec toi.